How to make everyone seek your approval. Machiavelli's darkest trick. There's something you need to understand about the man everyone calls Alpha, the one who pounds his chest, raises his voice first, needs to prove he's the smartest in every room. Machiavelli would laugh at him, because this man is performing for approval, not commanding it. The loud one is always the weakest. Why? Because true power doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It moves in silence. When you have to tell people you're in charge, you're already following someone else's script. Look around you right now. Every man you know is trapped in this performance. They flex on social media. They argue to win. They compete for attention like children fighting over candy. But what they don't see is that they're all dancing to the same song, playing the same desperate game for the same worthless prize, being liked. Machiavelli knew something they don't. He understood that the king doesn't beg for his crown. He doesn't campaign for respect. People simply know he's the king because he carries himself like one. Not through noise, but through presence. Not through force, but through the kind of calm that makes others nervous. You've been taught wrong. Society sold you a lie that power means being the loudest voice in the room. But the truth is darker than that. Real power is being the one voice everyone stops to hear when you finally speak. From this moment forward, you stop chasing approval. You stop performing for anyone. Instead, you become the man whose approval others chase. You become the standard, the judge, the final word. This isn't about building a bigger cage of social performance. This is about stepping outside the cage entirely and holding the key to everyone else's. The transformation starts now. Chapter 2. The Unshakable Frame. Your reality must be stronger than theirs. When two people meet, two different versions of the world collide. The stronger version always wins. Until now, you've been walking into other people's worlds and adapting. You've been the visitor. That ends today. Your frame is your fortress. It's built on one thing: absolute belief in your own mission. Not money, not women, not status games. Something bigger. Your life's work, your obsession, the thing that matters so much to you that everything else becomes background noise. When someone tries to drag you into their drama, their gossip, their emotional chaos, your frame doesn't move. You listen, but you're not participating. You're observing from a higher place. Like a scientist studying behavior. Like a doctor examining symptoms. This creates something powerful. People can feel that you're not fully there with them. Part of you is somewhere else, working on something they can't see or understand. This drives them crazy in the best possible way. They start wondering what you're thinking about. What's so important that it keeps pulling your attention away from them? You become a mystery. Not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because you genuinely have more important things on your mind than their immediate concerns. Your responses are thoughtful but detached, present but not available. Here's what happens next. They start adjusting to you instead of you adjusting to them. They match your energy level. They speak more carefully around you. They start asking what you think instead of telling you what to think. Your frame becomes magnetic because it's real. It's not a performance. It's not an act. You genuinely have somewhere else to be, mentally. You're building something, creating something, moving toward something that matters. Never abandon your frame for anyone. Not for friends, not for family, not for lovers. Make them come to your world. Never move to theirs. When you do this consistently, you stop being just another person in their life. You become the person whose world they want to enter. Chapter 3. The Validation Famine. Here's the core of everything. Humans are addicted to validation, like addicts are addicted to drugs. Most people give validation away for free, making it worthless. You're going to make yours rare, valuable, something people work for. This is called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same trick that makes gambling addictive. You don't win every time you pull the slot machine handle, but sometimes you do. That unpredictability creates obsession. You become a human slot machine of approval, not cruel, not withholding for the sake of being mean, strategic, scientific. When your colleague does good work, you don't praise them immediately. You wait. Let days pass. Then, in a casual moment, you mention it briefly and specifically. That report from last week, the section on market analysis, was sharp. Then you move on. Don't elaborate. Don't explain why you liked it. Just state it and let it hang. This targeted, delayed praise is worth more than 1,000 generic compliments. They'll remember it for weeks. They'll replay that moment when you noticed their work, when you saw them. But here's the key. You don't do this every time. Sometimes you notice good work and say nothing. Sometimes you acknowledge it with just a nod. Sometimes you give that brief, specific praise. The unpredictability is what creates the craving. You also give intense, focused attention in small doses. When they're talking to you, you listen like they're the only person in the world. Complete focus. Total presence. Then you withdraw it. Your attention goes back to your mission, your work, your world. This push-pull destroys people's peace of mind. They start thinking about you when you're not around. They start changing their behavior, trying to figure out what earned them your attention before. They want to recreate those conditions. You're not being an asshole. You're being selective. Your approval means something because you don't give it to everyone for everything. When you finally do give it, it feels earned, deserved, significant. They start measuring their success, not by their own standards, not by their boss's feedback, but by whether they can catch your attention again. You become the judge they carry in their head, the voice that matters most. This isn't about being mean. It's about being valuable. Diamonds are precious because they're rare. Your approval becomes precious for the same reason. Chapter 4. The Aura of Scarcity. A king isn't a king because he's always around. He's a king because when he shows up, it matters. Your presence must become an event, not a constant. Your time, attention, and energy are your most valuable resources. From now on, they're scarce. You don't text back immediately. You don't stay until the end of every gathering. You don't make yourself constantly available. This isn't playing games. This is having a life so full of purpose that you can't be everywhere for everyone all the time. When someone texts you something non-urgent, you might not respond for hours, even a day. Not because you're trying to seem important, but because you actually are busy with important things. Your silence becomes more powerful than your words. When you're not there, they think about you. They wonder what you're working on, who you're with, what projects are keeping you occupied. Your absence creates a vacuum in their minds, and they fill it with thoughts of you. Social media becomes a weapon here. Most people document every meal, every workout, every mundane moment. You post rarely, but when you do, it tells a story, a picture of something you're building, a book you're reading, a view from somewhere interesting. You create the narrative of a man on a mission. People start to understand that your life is happening somewhere else, that the time they get with you is just a small window into something larger. This makes every interaction with you feel special because they know it's not something you do with everyone. Your calendar becomes protected territory. People start asking when you're free instead of assuming you're available. They begin to schedule around you instead of expecting you to schedule around them. This scarcity does something psychological. It makes people compete for your time. They start offering value up front, trying to earn their place in your schedule. Your presence becomes a reward they have to work for. The goal isn't to be unreachable, it's to be selective. When you do show up, when you do give your attention, it means something. Because everyone knows you chose to be there. Chapter 5. The Predator's Gaze. Before you speak a single word, the battle is won or lost with your body and your eyes. Your non-verbal communication is your primary weapon, and most people have no idea how to use it. First, master the gaze. When someone speaks to you, you look at them like you're trying to read their soul through their eyes. Not aggressive, not threatening. Calm but penetrating. You hold eye contact slightly longer than feels normal. When they look away, you don't. You let them be the first to break the connection. This single act changes everything. It puts you in the dominant position without saying a word. It's the look of someone who's completely comfortable in their own skin. Someone who has nothing to hide and nothing to prove. Second, eliminate all fidgeting, all nervous movements, all wasted energy. When you move, it's deliberate. When you walk into a room, you don't rush. You move with purpose, like you own the space. When you sit, you take up space naturally, not arrogantly, but with the confidence of someone who belongs. Third, master the power of silence. When someone asks you a question, you don't rush to answer. You take a beat. You let the silence hang. This tells them that your words have weight, that you think before you speak, that what you're about to say matters. Most people are terrified of silence. They rush to fill it with noise, with chatter, with anything to make it go away. But you're comfortable in the quiet. You command it. This makes them slightly uncomfortable, slightly off balance, and constantly aware of your presence. Your non-verbal communication becomes a low-level psychological pressure. Not threatening, just present. Powerful. It tells everyone in the room that you're operating on a different level than they are. Chapter 6. The Inner Sanctum. Humans want what they can't have. You're going to create an exclusive world with yourself at the center, then control who gets access to it. This isn't about forming an official group or club. It's about cultivating relationships with a small number of high-value people. Individuals who are intelligent, skilled, successful in their own areas. Your association with them raises your status, and their association with you raises theirs. Then you selectively grant access to this world. You might share inside information with someone you're targeting. You might invite them to a small gathering with your high-value connections. You might include them in a conversation that others can overhear, but not join. This act of inclusion is incredibly powerful. It sends a clear message. I see something in you. I'm letting you into my world. The person receiving this invitation feels chosen, special. They feel indebted to you for recognizing their worth. But here's the crucial part. This inclusion must be earned and can be taken away. For every person you let in, there must be several you keep out. The awareness of who's excluded is what makes inclusion valuable. People see the benefits of being in your circle, the connections, the information, the status, the access to opportunities they wouldn't have otherwise. They see others competing for your attention and approval. This creates a natural hierarchy with you at the top. They start offering you things, their loyalty, their expertise, their resources, their connections, all for a chance to stay in your good graces, to maintain their access to your world. You're not just a person anymore. You're a gatekeeper. You control access to something valuable, something other people want. This puts you in a position of power without having to fight for it or demand it. The key is subtlety. This can't look manufactured or fake. It has to feel natural, organic, like you just naturally attract high-value people and naturally exclude those who don't measure up. Quality over quantity becomes your obvious standard. Chapter 7. The God Mirror. This is the most advanced technique. It requires you to listen not to what people say, but to what they mean. Every person you meet is broadcasting their deepest insecurities and aspirations. Your job is to become a mirror that reflects back their ideal self. People don't know they're doing this, but they're constantly telling you who they wish they could be. The colleague who complains about his micromanaging boss is really saying, "I want freedom and respect." The friend who talks about his big ideas is really saying, "I'm terrified of being ordinary." You don't offer cheap advice or empty reassurance. Instead, you position yourself as the living example of what they aspire to be. You become proof that their dream is possible. To the colleague seeking freedom, you might casually mention, "True autonomy is the only thing worth working toward. Everything else is just trading time for money." You're not giving him advice. You're speaking his language. You're expressing the philosophy he wishes he had the courage to live by. To the friend with big ideas, you share a story about a risk you took, a failure you survived, a lesson you learned. You become living proof that his vision isn't just a fantasy, that someone like him can actually make it happen. This creates something deeper than admiration. It creates a spiritual connection. They see you not just as successful, but as the person they need to become. You represent their path to salvation, their guide to the life they actually want. They start seeking your approval, not just for social validation, but because they believe your approval means they're on the right track, that they're becoming the person they've always wanted to be. Your opinion becomes the measurement of their progress toward their ideal self. You stop being just another person in their life. You become a symbol, a representation of their highest potential, the living embodiment of their deepest aspirations. This is incredibly powerful because it taps into something primal. Everyone wants to believe they can become more than they are. When you represent that possibility, when you make their dreams feel achievable by being the person who achieved them, you become irreplaceable. They don't just want your approval anymore. They need it, because losing your approval would mean losing faith in their own potential. Chapter 8. The Velvet Glove. You will have rivals, other men competing for the same status, the same influence, the same respect. The amateur fights them directly. This is a mistake. Open conflict is messy, reveals your strategy, and makes you look primitive. The master neutralizes rivals with grace and complete deniability. Your primary weapon is damning with faint praise. When a rival's name comes up in conversation, you agree with any compliments, but add a subtle qualifier. "Oh, Marcus is brilliant, absolutely. If he could just think more strategically, he'd be unstoppable." It sounds supportive, but you've planted doubt about his biggest weakness. Another technique is strategic ignorance. In group settings, you listen intently to everyone except your rival. Your gaze slides past him. You respond to points made by others while treating him like he's invisible. He feels it. Everyone else feels it. His status drops without you saying a negative word. You can also use your inner circle as proxies. By controlling information flow and opinion within your group, You shape how they perceive your rival. Your allies start noticing things they wouldn't have seen before. They start sharing doubts they might not have voiced otherwise. The goal isn't destruction, it's irrelevance. You don't compete on their level because you're operating in a different dimension entirely. They're playing checkers while you're playing chess. They never see your moves because you're not making moves against them. You're making moves around them. Over time, they become background noise. Their attempts to compete with you look desperate because you're not even acknowledging the competition. You're focused on bigger things, higher goals, more important battles. They get checked and cornered without ever seeing your hand move. Your power grows not by winning fights, but by making fights unnecessary. By being so clearly above the conflict that engaging would actually lower your status. If you follow these principles, you will get what you came for. People will hang on your words. Their moods will change based on your attention. They will compete for your time. They will seek your approval with desperate hunger. This is power. But it comes with a price. You will feel isolated. You will see the machinery of human ego in everyone around you. And sometimes it will disgust you. You will understand the game so clearly that playing it becomes both easier and more meaningless. The greatest danger is believing your own performance, forgetting that this was strategy and starting to think you're actually superior to everyone else. This is the path to ruin. The moment you become addicted to being worshipped, you become just as much a slave as your worshippers. Stay the scientist. Stay the architect. Remember that this power is a means, not an end. Use it to build something meaningful, to protect what matters to you, to create the life you actually want. Your mission, your purpose, your work, that remains your only truth. The approval of others is just a side effect of living according to your own standards. The world is a stage. People are players, but you are not performing for them anymore. You are directing the performance. Now go. Make them play their parts. But never forget who you really are beneath the crown. Never forget why you picked it up in the first place. The game is yours to win.